Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. The All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office this past week released a video that they said was filmed in 2023 from a military platform. They don't really give you much details about it, but they say it's unresolved. It's a UAP that they've been unable to come to a determination as to what it is. And I guess we'll play this video as we continue talking about it. This is what it says on the website as the video plays. It says, "This video is provided for informational purposes only. Viewers should not interpret any part of the video description below as reflecting an analytic judgment, investigative conclusion, or factual determination regarding the described event's validity, nature, or significance. Viewers should not interpret the absence of a formal assessment as suggestive of anomalous characteristics." Then it goes on to say, "The All-domain Anomaly Resolution Office received a report from the United States Military Service consisting of 8 minutes and 15 seconds of video footage from an infrared sensor aboard a U.S. military platform. The recording, captured in the Middle East in 2023, depicts an apparent thermal contrast within the sensor's field of view. The area of apparent contrast exhibited characteristics that may be consistent with the presence of a physical object. However, due to the absence of corroborating telemetry or multimodal sensor data, AARO cannot determine whether the observed signature represents a sensor artifact or a thermal emission or reflection from a physical source. The available data does not support a conclusive analytic evaluation." Well, just as we let the video just play out, I just want to point out that this is very safe to release something like this. I mean, obviously, for those who are just listening, basically what you're seeing is just this little ball floating around the sky, moving back and forth, and AARO saying it doesn't know what it is. I mean, is it some sort of a problem with the equipment that they are using, or was there something really there? They don't really know. This is very safe for the government to release something like this because no one's ever going to probably come up with a conclusion. And any conclusion, if they do solve it, right, I could assure you that whatever the government comes up with, it will be a very prosaic explanation. Extraterrestrials / non-human intelligence will have nothing whatsoever to do with an explanation with regard to this object that is flying around in this video that they've released. And I've said this before in the past that I think AARO is useless, but I guess it could be fun every now and then when they release things like this, even though we're never going to learn anything from it, I'm sure, and there's never going to be any announcement saying, "Yep, guess what? We figured out it's extraterrestrial / NHI technology at work here. This is what the experts are telling us." Downstairs. No, we're never going to get anything like that. There's never going to be an announcement with regard to this video. You'll get some debunkers that will tell you it's either a balloon or some sort of a sensor anomaly or things like that. They'll provide as many prosaic explanations as you could possibly stomach. You will receive that, and there won't be any answers for it. And also keep in mind too that if Immaculate Constellation is a real thing, and which they say was established in 2017 after the leak of those Pentagon videos, basically all the good stuff will go to Immaculate Constellation. AARO will never get to see those kinds of videos. But anyway, I guess the bottom line is that we have this, and it's interesting to look at. It's interesting to talk about. I mean, could it be something? Maybe. I doubt. If they really believe there was any way of anyone figuring out what this is, they wouldn't have released it. I think they were pretty certain that there's just not enough data there to come to any kind of conclusion ever. That's my hunch, and that's why it was very easy to release something like this. I mean, you're not going to ever see from the government up close video of some of these craft with creatures inside, which is something that Lou Elizondo has talked about in the past. That there are videos out there, military videos that not only show the craft, but you could see occupants inside. And he alluded to the fact that the occupants themselves have big heads and big eyes. Just like the creatures that people have encountered over the decades, the gray aliens or whatever with their big heads and big eyes, big black eyes. They're not going to release that kind of stuff. You're never ever going to get something like that through AARO, ever. And I don't know if we'll ever get anything like that from the government ever. In fact, the more and more as time goes on now, and especially with the way things have been handled by not just the government, right, but some of the people who are trying to prod the government into telling the truth, it seems like we are being managed. This has been brought up by some other people within the UFO community recently, and to me, it sounds correct that we're probably being managed here. That there is what we're experiencing here is a slow disclosure, deliberate, and a lot of the people involved, right? They're all on the same team, even though they might seem like they're not sometimes. Like I'm starting to think that it's very possible, and I can't prove this, but it's just a feeling. It doesn't make me right, but I'm starting to think that some of the people, like even on the debunker side of it, for instance, I would imagine that there's probably one, two, who knows, a handful, couple, 2, 3, I don't know, at most probably, some of the names out there that you see regularly posting against this potential reality, or actually actual reality, that we're not alone. These people, I think, are government agents or being paid by the government. I'm starting to think that. And I also am starting to think that some of the people on the other side in the UFO community are government agents. And they're all just putting this fake fight together just to keep it in the news. That's what I think is going on. And then meanwhile, some of the followers, the sycophants of some of these debunkers, as well as some of the sycophants of some of the people in the UFO community, what happens is they all, because they're all in their little echo chambers, they all follow the leader and they all start acting the same way on both sides. And that's what's going on, I think. I think what we're seeing here is controlled disclosure, an attempt at it. I think that's what we've been experiencing probably for the past 8 years. This was actually my initial thoughts on this. When I first started doing this podcast, I believe the very, very first episode I ever did, I'm sure it's very poorly done. I mean, I'm not saying that all my podcasts these days are models in excellence. I'm not saying that one bit. I'm just saying when I first started doing this, it was not nearly as good as it is now. And that very first show, I think it was called "The Pentagon is Trying to Tell You Something," something to that effect. And my first thoughts on what was happening is that the Pentagon was engaged in a slow disclosure project, program, whatever, and who knows which people are involved on the outside, who we think are on the outside, right, are involved in this, because obviously something is going on. I mean, particularly because of the fact that we have absolute proof floating around in the public domain right now, and a lot of these people don't want to talk about it. Debunkers won't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. They won't even try to. They can't. It's impossible to debunk. They won't touch it. A lot of the big names in the UFO community are very quiet about it. They don't want to talk about it. And so, to me, right, something else is going on. I think what we're experiencing is this controlled disclosure. We're being managed. Basically, they look these people at the top, the people who are in control, and from the control group themselves. All of this is speculation, by the way, folks. I think that they look down at the rest of us, right, and they think, wow, what a bunch of dummies. We're going to have to do this real nice and slow-like, and we'll take our good old time doing it. And if anything comes out that shows, that proves without a doubt that there is an alien presence on this planet, we'll just pretend it's not there for the time being. We'll just continue with this program the way we envisioned it originally back in 2017 or prior to that, or whenever. Something like that effect. It just wouldn't surprise me. Let's just put it that way. It would not surprise me. But anyway, with regard to this object that we were watching, yes, it's very interesting, and I would hope AARO continues to release things like this on a regular basis. As you notice when you're watching that, I know they had there were some things. The technical information there was all redacted, all blacked out, so you can't see that. That's fine, right? That's fine. Although some of those numbers would help others determine some technical aspects with regard to that video, but we're not gonna. All we get to see is the object itself, and they don't know what it is, and we're not gonna know what it is. No one's ever gonna know whether was something that was really there or was something that wasn't there. We'll never know. We're never gonna get an answer. That's why it was safe to release this. They will release things like this that show you nothing, right? That a debunker could tell you it's a balloon, and no one's gonna say, "Oh, I don't think so." It's just easy. See, there's some stuff out there we don't know what it is. If we had more information on it, we'd have a better idea. But what is it? The bunkers, they think it was a balloon, so it probably could be. I mean, that's about the best you're going to get out of this. You're not going to get anything. We'll never get anywhere with releases like this. It's fun to look at and wonder, but I don't think they're ever going to show you anything that they think has the possibility of being NHI. That's my opinion. Doesn't make me right, but that's just my opinion. I've said many, many times, when it comes to UFOs, never, ever, ever trust the United States government. They're not going to tell you the truth about this. They have not been telling the truth about this for 80 plus years, right, as it stands. So what makes you think they're going to start telling you the truth right now? They're just not going to. They're going to play games with you. They're going to, and I think that's what's happening. I think right now there's some kind of a big giant game going on right now, right this minute. And there's a whole bunch of people involved. I don't know which people. Some of the people we trust, I think that they're probably involved. And obviously some of the people who we don't trust, they're involved too. They're all in on it, possibly. It could be. I mean, you have to it makes you wonder when you actually throw out the absolute proof out there, and nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about there's no question about it anymore. There's an alien presence here. No one wants to talk about that. They don't want to go there. Oh, no, we're not ready for that. The world ain't ready for that. That's what it just seems like to me. Doesn't make me right, but that's just the way I see it. Anyway, speaking of orbs flying around without any apparent propulsion systems on them, there was something else been going on here. I'm going to pull up this article here. Their scientists are now studying this spherical UFO that was found in Colombia recently. I'm sure you've seen this. Some people saw it flying around. There was some video of this thing before it came down. Then it finally came down, and now they have it in their possession, and scientists are saying they think it could be of alien origin. Now here's an article from the Daily Mail from the UK, and the headline reads, "Scientists studying spherical UFO say they discovered alien technology." Now, I'm not sure how you could say that at this point in time, but that's what this article's saying. It says here, scientists have released the first X-ray images of a mysterious sphere-shaped object recovered in Colombia, which locals claim is of alien origin. The so-called UFO was spotted in March over the town of Buga, zigzagging through the sky in a way that defies the movement of conventional aircraft. The object was recovered shortly after it landed and has since been analyzed by scientists who discovered it features 3 layers of metal-like material and 18 microspheres surrounding a central nucleus they are calling a chip. Dr. Jose Luis Velazquez, a radiologist who examined the sphere, reported finding no welds or joints, which would typically indicate human fabrication. Now, I just want to look at this object here for a minute. Let's just pull up a couple of here's a close-up of it here. It has weird symbols on it. Now when I'm looking at this picture, to me, right, this looks like something that could have been made in a machine shop. I actually had some experience in a machine shop once, and it's not the design on this object, it's imperfect on it. So I would think that if it was something alien, it would not have these kind of imperfections that you find sometimes in when a human makes designs on metal like this. So that's my one red flag on this one so far. But I will say this, I don't know, before I continue here, I just want to say I don't know. I think more information needs to be, I'm not going to say one way or the other what I think, because I don't know. I seriously don't think anyone should know at this point. So when you hear someone saying, oh, I think it's a fake, well, I think more information needs to be, I just believe in seeking out more information before jumping to a conclusion like that. I know some people have a problem with that, but I believe in researching something first and then making a conclusion. And I don't think there's enough information right now for anyone to say anything. So anyway, let's continue with the article. It says here, this Velazquez and his team concluded it is of artificial origin in that it shows no evidence of welding and its internal structure is composed of high-density elements. More testing is needed to establish its origin. The sphere also displays symbols that the team compared to ancient scripts, including runes, Ogham, and Mesopotamian writing systems. Using AI to assist in deciphering the design, the team interpreted the message to read, "The origin of birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation, meeting point of unity, expansion, and consciousness, individual consciousness." We interpret it as a message to humanity, encouraging a collective shift in consciousness to help Mother Earth, especially considering the current issues with pollution and environmental decline, the researchers said. Again, now here's a video of this object flying around before it apparently landed. You could see it there. It looks, looks like a ball flying through the air. Here's a still image of it in the sky. There they have, and then here's another still image of the object up close on a display, and you can see the markings on it. Anyway, continuing with the article, it says the object was recovered on March 2nd by a group of people who said it weighed about 4.5 pounds and had the temperature of a refrigerator when touched. David Velez El Potro, one of the individuals who recovered the object, recently spoke on Mason television, hosted by journalist and ufologist Jaime Mason, whose research has stirred controversy for nearly a decade. Mason gained attention in 2017 when he claimed to have discovered alien mummies in Peru, findings that remain unconfirmed. Okay, yeah, now the problem with, of course, when Mason is associated with a case, of course, red flags start cropping up for just about, if you're in the UFO community and Jaime Mason's involved, red flags are going to pop up no matter who you are. Now, however, I do think that my opinion of Jaime Mason is this. I think this guy's a showman. I think he's been a showman his whole life. And I think when he comes across something that he thinks has the potentiality of being actual NHI, right, he's going to run with it. And I think that's probably what has occurred throughout his career. Sometimes, a lot of times, it turns out some of these things that he's gotten behind have turned out to be untrue. But I think that in recent years, okay, those mummies, there's a lot of scientists right now who are saying that these things, these Nazca preserved corpses that they've been finding, they're not human. And they're tridactyl. They have 3 fingers. Some of them have eggs inside them. I mean, there's just more and more stuff coming out about these things, and we're getting to the point now. And at the same time, you have another stable of scientists saying it's all a hoax, but they're talking about these other remains that were found earlier that were dummies, ancient hoaxes, actually, so to speak. And now these other ones that they're talking about, for some reason, they have a problem trying to differentiate between these other bodies that they're looking at, where these scientists are saying there's eggs inside them. There's no way this could have been faked, and this is original. There's a bunch of them saying this right now. So to me, right, this case is looking like it involves some sort of non-human intelligent creature. But that's for another story. But of course, like what I'm trying to point out here is the fact that Jaime Mason is involved in this, so that does, send up a red flag for me. Even though I think he's a fun guy to listen to, but he makes mistakes. The one that really bugged me was the Roswell mummy. The Roswell the mummy in a case where he just, even though it was shown that it was a mummy of a boy, right? He still was insisting that no, it can't be, and that went on for a little while. See, that's the kind of problem some people have when it comes to Mason. But getting back to this. But Velez El Potro has claimed that the sphere is authentic, found in the woods of Buga. He told Mason that the man who found it, Jose, felt sick for days after touching the object. When I poured water on it, it started to smoke and the water vaporized instantly, Velez El Potro added, suggesting the interior was hot and the exterior cold. However, there are no official reports or scientific analysis to confirm claims of a sphere falling over Buga, only eyewitness reports. Velez El Potro said the government contacted him to hand it over the sphere, but he refused, saying it would never be seen again. And here's a picture of it laying in the bushes before they picked it up. This was after it allegedly landed. And then there's more images here in this article that show says here the object was recovered shortly after it landed and has since been analyzed by scientists who discovered it features 3 layers of metal-like material and 18 microspheres surrounding a central nucleus they are calling a chip. So this is what they're talking about right there. And here's This is David Velez El Pocho standing there posing with it. Anyway, continuing here, it says, so he gave it to Masson and his team of experts with hopes of them uncovering the sphere's origin. Researchers found that the sphere had irregular edges, indicating that it is a solid object. The outer layer appeared to be the densest, comparable to human bone. The center of the sphere shows a lower radioacoustic density than the edge, indicating an internal structure that may be more porous or composed of less dense material than the outer shell, said Nacho Rojo, host of the YouTube channel Hidden Truth, during an interview with Masson. The findings suggest that the outer layer could be made of titanium or steel, but researchers noted that a full composition analysis is needed to confirm this. X-rays also revealed 18 small dots within the center of the object, arranged in what appeared to be a non-random pattern. The team speculated that the 18 points could be sensors, bolts, or fragments of microspheres. Obviously, we don't know the composition or how it was manufactured, but it appears to be an object intentionally built to house these small metallic components internally, Rojo said, referring to insights shared during the X-ray analysis. And there's more images here, close-up images of it. And the article continues, and it says, scientists are currently referring to the 18 points as a chip due to their precise arrangement and location within the sphere. The symmetry suggests advanced technology or deliberate engineering, Rojo added. He also noted these 18 points show no signs of fracture, meaning the object remains structurally intact. And there's more to this article. I'll leave the link here for you. But actually, I want to shoot over here to X. There was a comment here from Tom Thompson, or also known as Cortex Zero, who's always talking about UFOs on X, and he writes down here. He writes a rundown of the Buga orb situation for those who want to catch up. On or around March 2nd, 2025, a metallic sphere was reportedly recovered near Buga, Colombia, following a dramatic descent observed by multiple witnesses. The object, described as luminous and erratic, was captured on video by two separate individuals as it streaked across the sky, made contact with a high-voltage power line, and ultimately fell to the ground. Soon after its recovery, the sphere was subjected to radiological imaging and preliminary analysis by a medical radiologist. The findings are as intriguing as they are perplexing. The object appears to be a single solid structure with no signs of external welding. Internally, it contains a low-density nucleus and 18 microspheres, a configuration not typical of terrestrial aerospace design. The external dot-like impressions seem to have originated from the inside out rather than from any external pressure or tooling. X-rays reveal complex internal density patterns, but the external symbols or markings visible to the naked eye are not visible in the radiographs, suggesting they may be superficial or composed of materials invisible to this form of imaging. An equatorial seam is present, implying two hemispherical sections, though again, no welds, joints, or mechanical fasteners are visible. Let me just stop there. The fact that there's no welds visible is very intriguing to me. That makes it seem like there could be something that's unearthly. Anyway, continuing, it says, while speculation ranges from advanced aerospace debris to a possible extraterrestrial probe, no definitive origin has been established. The object is now reportedly undergoing further metallurgical and structural testing. Whatever this is, it's not just another piece of space junk. The data suggests advanced manufacturing, non-obvious internal engineering, and an origin that resists easy classification. So, and here's some still images here. I'm just going to pull these up. Look at that. Like, to me, that's, was this something that was achieved in a metal shop, maybe, a machine shop? Somebody who knows what they're doing, who knows how to create these kinds of designs on metal? Or was it created by non-human hands somehow? And here's that symbol, a drawing of it. Looks very complex, and nobody knows where it came from. Okay, now I thought what was interesting here was, look who chimed in here. Giorgio Sokolos chimed in, of course, of Ancient Aliens fame, and he chimed in this way. He says, "This is fake and another cheap version of the Bet's Mystery Sphere. Google it, Bet's Mystery Sphere." Okay, we all heard about the Bet's mystery sphere. I just find it funny that Giorgio, of all people, is calling this a fake right off the get-go without, again, I don't know how someone could do this. I mean, I don't care if you're a debunker or someone who sees every light in the sky and believes it's alien. I don't care what side of the equation you're on. How could you call something a fake when you don't know everything about a situation yet? But Giorgio decided to do so. And he compared it with the Bet's mystery sphere, and we all heard about that story before. Let's pull that one up. Here's an article from the JacksonMag.com. The mysterious Betts sphere of Fort George Island. In 1974, the Betts family of Jacksonville found a metal orb in the woods of Fort George Island. Over the years, the enigmatic Betts sphere has generated speculation about what it is and where it came from, and now has inspired its own podcast dedicated to untangling the mystery. Now, I know Giorgio's saying it's a fake, but I don't know if anyone ever figured out what the Betts sphere is. I mean, there's been speculation, but there's no answers with regard to this sphere. None, as far as I know. Anyway, let's just read about this a little bit. It says, sometime in March or April 1974, fittingly, the accounts aren't consistent. 3 members of the Betts family... Okay, let's just stop there. The way this article starts out, fittingly, the accounts aren't consistent. Okay, we're talking about something that happened either March or April of 1974. So some family members got a little bit confused about which the month is. Oh, fittingly, the accounts aren't consistent. That's not a good way to start off an article. Just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, sometime in March or April 1974, 3 members of the Betts family, parents Jerry and Antone, and their oldest son Terry, were walking in the woods around their property on Jacksonville's Fort George Island when Terry found something that would impact their lives for years, a strange metallic sphere about the size of a bowling ball. Thinking it odd enough to make a good souvenir, Terry, then a 21-year-old pre-med student, took the ball home. The Bettses didn't think much about the orb until one day when Terry started strumming his guitar near it. According to Jerry, who became the family spokesman on the sphere, related matters, something strange happened. The ball started humming back. Soon it started displaying other unusual properties. It would roll around seemingly on its own volition, changing directions and halting abruptly. It even vibrated and emitted a high-pitched sound that would send dogs whining and covering their ears. Shortly, the Betts sphere, also called the Mystery Sphere, or simply the Oddball, started attracting attention. Ron Kivett, the host of local radio show on paranormal phenomena, was one of the first to inspect it. Kivett, who also has a place in local lore as one of the writers of the locally produced cult monster movie Zat, confirmed the Betts family's claims that the sphere moved and behaved strangely. He, like many others after him, was convinced that the orb was of extraterrestrial origin, a device created by some cosmic intelligence for an opaque purpose. By mid-April, the Betts sphere had also drawn the attention of the news. It's not clear whether the Bettses contacted the media or if reporters caught wind of it around town, but Jacksonville's local papers began covering the sphere and interviewing Jerry about it. According to Lindsay Kilbride, a reporter for the Jackson's partner WJCT and host of a podcast about the sphere, more on that in a bit, the sphere captured people's curiosity. Around that time, UFOs were really popular, said Kilbride. Well, let me just stop there for a second. Well, they're really popular right now, too. Very popular. Anyway, the story only got bigger from there. Within 1 or 2 weeks of it making headlines locally, it was a national story, and there were even international publications that picked it up as well, said Kilbride. In the spring of 1974, reporters from around the world were asking, what is this crazy thing down in Jacksonville, and where did it come from? With curiosity at a fever pitch, even the United States Navy wanted to look at the Betts sphere. A shrewd businesswoman, Jerry wrote up a contract that gave the Navy 2 weeks to inspect the orb at Naval Station Mayport and committed them to returning it if it turned out not to be government property. In contemporary news reports, the Navy spokesman stated that they'd found only that the ball was stainless steel, was not their property, and that while they couldn't determine what it was for, it was certainly constructed on Earth. The Navy suggested that its tendency to move around was due to a small triangular chip in the surface that threw off its otherwise perfect balance, and the fact that the Betts' floors were uneven. But of course, they'd say that. Scientists were the next to take a crack at the mystery. As it happened, shortly after the Betts sphere story had broken, the National Enquirer was convening a panel of 5 UFO investigators in New Orleans. Despite the disreputable sponsor and subject, each of the members was a scientist or engineer in their own right. Among them was J. Allen Hynek, a Northwestern University astronomy professor and the best-known ufologist of the time. The Enquirer flew Terry Betts and the sphere so it could be investigated by the panel. Evidently, Hynek and his colleagues were unimpressed with the ball and agreed with the Navy that it was man-made. These conclusions did nothing to tamp down interest in the sphere, and eventually the Betts family had had enough. A year and a half or so after the orb became national news, the family simply stopped talking about the sphere. I have recorded interviews with her at the time, and this is just extremely overwhelming for her family, said Kilbride. Jerry Betts was getting calls 24 hours a day. The phone was just constantly ringing. People were just showing up at her house. It drastically changed their lives. This is kind of what they became known for. With the Bettses no longer taking sphere-related inquiries, it was never definitively proven what the thing was or how it had gotten on Fort George Island. And that's all I'm going to read. There's more to this. You could read more about it. But, hey, you know what? I'll say this. Just like the Betts sphere, there was never really any sort of conclusion to that story. There's never going to be any conclusion to this recent one either. We're never going to know what the story is with it, probably ever. I don't think. You'll have different opinions, and you'll probably never get anywhere with it. Apparently, this ball was doing this new ball that we're talking about that was found in Colombia was doing some weird things too. We'll see. I'd say more scientific research. Wait till you hear back on that, and then you make an opinion. But right now, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I doubt. I would be surprised if it's extraterrestrial or NHI because, like I said, that it's an imperfect design. You would think that the design by an extraterrestrial intelligence would be something more intricate and flawless. This seems like it's flawed when you look at it up close. But then again, that doesn't mean anything. I think it still needs to be looked at and studied, and then we'll figure something out. But I doubt it. I think we'll never learn anything about this. Just like we'll never learn anything about the object that you see in that video that AARO released last week. We'll never know anything about what that is, right? We'll never know anything what's going on with that ball that was found in Colombia, and we'll never find out really what the Betts sphere is. I mean, there'll be people that will give you some pretty convincing ideas about it, but it will never be clear. You'll never be 100% on it. You'll just never will. But I think that some of these orbs that people see in the sky are alien controlled, either remotely or automatically. I don't think they're doing it manually. I don't think that they're in there flying around manually. I think it's too small. But hey, who knows? I really don't know. We probably won't know. I think some of them are controlled by extraterrestrials, though. What are they used for? That's anybody's guess. I don't know. The government doesn't tell us. Whatever they might know. They might have a better idea. Maybe that's the reason they were sending up those drones last year. They were concerned about the orbs that people were seeing. We really don't know. Anyway, one more thing I want to go over. I want to get caught up on some of the recent Spotify polls. And we're going to go all the way back to the episode Chaos Erupts After Elizondo Presents UFO Photo to Congress That Gets Immediately Debunked. Now, I know I did this one before, but there's been more votes on it since. I asked this question. Does it seem to you sometimes that not only are debunkers gaslighting the community, but disclosure advocates are doing the same thing? 51 votes so far. Only 4 people, or 7.8%, say no. A vast majority, 47 people, or 92.2%, say yes. Of course, I agree with the majority on this one. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, when you have absolute proof in your back pocket and you don't do anything with it, well, it makes you ask questions, makes you wonder about a lot of different things. Okay, for the episode, greedy, self-serving humans, not aliens, might be the culprits behind mystery booms, I ask this question. What would be the karmic fate of billionaires who survive an earth-shattering catastrophe by hiding in taxpayer-funded underground tunnels? 32 votes with 20 days left. Let's see. Okay, 2 people, or 6.3%, say surprised by magma. Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it? You know, they think everything's all fine and dandy. Hell, the idiots on the surface. Why? I wonder what they thought when they saw that asteroid coming flying straight down their throat. Ha ha ha! And then next thing you know, a cave wall burst open, and they were greeted with some white hot magma. Could be. Okay, 4 people, or 12.5%, say attacked by rabid bats. That would suck. All right, you think you got away? You think you think you hedged all your bets? You threw all your money in one pot, and you bought enough politicians, and now you're safe from that giant asteroid or that alien invasion while underground in this underground city. Next thing you know, there's a bunch of rabid bats that get through the door, and they're biting you. You never know. 7 people, or 21.9%, say eaten by cave cryptids. Yeah, that would really suck. Thinking you just dodged a bullet, and next thing you know, there's giant cave cryptids coming out of the shadows and tearing you to pieces. And the majority of people, 19 or 59.4%, say other. Yeah, other. There's other things that could happen too. Other karmic conclusions to your karmic fates that you might suffer. Okay, for the episode, AI speculates on how ETs induce paralysis and how we might prevent it. For that episode, I asked this question: were you ever paralyzed by a non-human intelligent creature? 29 votes so far. Okay, 7 people, or 24.1%, say yes, compared to 22 people, or 75.9%, who say no. Now, I'm with the no's on this one. I'm with the majority because I don't recall ever being paralyzed by an NHI. But I think it's pretty interesting that 7 of the subscribers, 7 people who are listening to my show, apparently, say they have been. They've been paralyzed by non-human intelligent creatures. It happens, as we were talking about in that previous show, during that episode. We talked about several different cases where people get paralyzed by these beings, and it was interesting to learn some of AI suggestions on what we might be able to do to prevent that from happening if you're ever faced with a situation like that. And then for the most recent episode, NASA doctor retires, blows whistle, says he was shown recovered flying saucer in action. 16 votes so far on this question. Do you believe Dr. Gregory Rogers has told the truth about what he saw in 1992? Okay, 3 people, or 18.8%, say no, while 13 people, or 81.3%, say yes. I agree with the majority. I don't see any reason why this guy would work his whole life like this with the government, and then after he retires, comes out and talks about something like this if it wasn't true. Obviously, this has been something he's been thinking about for over 30 years since he saw it in 1992, and now he's coming out because of other people coming out. He's coming out and telling what he saw too. I mean, he's not coming out saying he saw a bunch of 25 aliens running around some hangar and flying in and out with their flying saucer, and the government glad handing with government officials. No, he's not saying anything like that. All he saw was a flying saucer being a demonstration of one flying, lifting up off the ground, turning clockwise and counterclockwise, and that's all he was shown. But it stuck in his head for all these decades, and now he's coming out and telling people what he saw. Because you know why? Because some people, when they see these things and they experience these things when they're working in top secret government programs or part of something like that, they realize, wow, the whole world needs to know about this. The whole world should have been told about this. Why is this being kept a secret? And when they get their chance finally, they come out and they tell the truth. That's what's happening with some of these people coming forward these days and talking about this. The more and more you see people like this stepping forward, you're going to see more and more people follow in the footsteps. And this guy, I think, is following in the footsteps of other people who have stepped out before him, and now there's going to be more people that's going to come after him. And it's continuing to happen. It is happening. More and more people are sick of this. People who've seen these things up close, they think that the whole world should know about this. They think this is something that the American people it should not have been kept a secret for this long. A lot of these people, that's what they're thinking, and that's why they're coming out and saying these things. And I totally believe this guy. I don't think he made it up. I think he actually saw what he said he saw, and now he's telling us what he's telling us is the truth as he knows it. Anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.